Hey everybody, Dr. Oliver here for backintelligence.com, and today we're going to go over 3 exercises you should avoid if you have sciatica. If you haven't done so yet, click the subscribe button to get access to videos as we put them out. So a lot of people suffer from sciatica. What is sciatica? Sciatica is pain that runs down the posterior or the back of your leg, typically below your knee. It's caused due to irritation to the sciatic nerve. Most often it's occurred at an impingement or something going on at the spine itself. So you can either have a herniated disc, a bulging disc, or you can have some stenosis, which is a narrowing of the holes on the side. Any one of these things can cause irritation in the nerve, which can give you sciatica. So there's certain things and certain positions we tend to tell people to avoid if they're suffering from these, especially if it's the disc type of thing where it's bulged or herniated out. Typically, the most problematic thing for that is going to be anything you take your nice neutral curve and flex forward onto. All right, so we're going to try to avoid things that cause flexion in the lower spine, because all that flexion causes a pinching or compression of the disc, which can cause an increase in the herniation or the bulge. So we want to avoid that if we can, and that can help avoid some of the sciatica type symptoms. So we're going to go over a few of these now. We're going to have Leon come in. And so if we're trying to avoid flexion, a lot of times patients will come into me with a lot of low back pain, and I ask them what they've been doing the past few days or weeks. Very often they're trying to stretch their low back. And one of the things I tell them to stop doing immediately is the forward folding. So that's a typical thing that you see in yoga, but a lot of people just do it to stretch their back if it's tight. So you'll see them just bend over. So Leon will do a forward fold, or just basically like you're going to touch your toes and you're rounding out. You're just stretching this low back, you're stretching your hamstrings, and generally it feels good to people to do this. That's one of the problems. But it's not. It's causing a lot of load. Again, you're taking that spine and really flexing forward and putting all that load into that low back. So even though it feels good maybe, it's not a good idea to do it if you're suffering from sciatica. So avoid the forward fold. If you're into yoga and you do yoga and you still want to practice yoga during this, which you should, avoid things like those forward folded positions temporarily so you can take stress off of that lower spine. So avoid the forward fold or the toe touch. And then on the floor, we're going to go over a couple stretching things or exercises that we want to avoid. It's very common for people to do core exercises for their back, right? For sciatica. Maybe they feel like they should be doing certain exercises to activate good muscles, your abs, right? Crunches or sit-ups tend to be one of those exercises that people often do for their back. However, the studies and research show that actually doing those exercises, it causes more stress to the low back, not less. So let's try to avoid those. Again, you will strengthen your abs. I'm not going to argue with that, but it's a risk versus reward thing for me. So if there's a potential you could irritate your problem or make your back problem worse, why do that exercise? We can give you other exercises. So Leon's going to demonstrate a crunch right now. And again, I'm going to have the model here. So he's laying on his back, and as he crunches up, what's he doing? Same thing we've talked about. He's flexing forward. And if he did a full sit-up, he'd be even putting more compressive load into that back. So again, not a great idea, especially if we're dealing with a disc-related issue that's causing sciatica. So we're going to avoid these. And what would we do instead? Well, we could supplement things like the dead bugs and the planks and things like that. If you're up for doing those things, that would be a much safer exercise to do. One other thing I noticed with some patients is they feel really tight in their hamstrings, right? A lot of people with low back pain have tight hamstrings. It's a sensation that they feel, and often it's a protective mechanism, not necessarily that they're short. So what do people tend to do? They want to stretch their tight muscles. So sitting and stretching your hamstrings, we'll have Leon do it, same thing. We're in that seated position, and sometimes you'll have one leg out, 2 legs out. And again, what's he doing? It's the same exact thing we've talked about. He's taking his lower back and just flexing forward on it. Sure, he's going to stretch his hamstring, but he's going to put more stress in his low back. So why do that? A substitute for that, an easy one, we'll just have Leon do it. Lay on your back, Leon. Instead of having your back bent like that, go from this position, pick one leg and raise it up. Yep. And you can go to stretch in this position. If you had a strap or a belt or something like that, you could hold it. And look at his low back. What's going on there? Nothing. It's nice and neutral. He's still getting a strong stretch out of his hamstring. So this is just an alternative way that you can stretch it if you really feel like you need to. But most often, you actually don't need to be stretching that hamstring as much. So if you're suffering from sciatica, try to avoid these things. Check out some of the other videos we have with exercises to help with sciatica and see if you can get that leg pain to go away.
I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like it and share it with a friend. Also, research shows that strengthening your core area can help relieve some of that low back pain that you're feeling, but it's important to know which exercises specifically to do and how, and you want these exercises to be both effective and safe for your spine. And we have just the PDF for that. So if you'd like to get a free PDF of core exercises that are safe for your spine and are very effective, there's going to be a link to get them somewhere here on the video or down below in the description. Just go to that page, enter your email, and we'll send you that PDF right away.